For me again, you can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't for me again. Can't for me again. You can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't for me again.
What people do in no money, what they at you, it no at you. Covid money, miss away in the year little rat you. Use the youth, them on the waste, and bust a man to statue. Say me like a catch you, but they got in a figure you. Take the spit of money, girl, and say that it's not you. On the head, the man above him, look him, I got a bet. Too much it in the kitchen, some fly by like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me,
300% raise.
it burn me,
Garbage pile of the day.
it burn me,
Give the teacher them
it
raise.
burn me,
I see corruption
it
cease.
burn me,
Mash down the people them house.
it burn me,
Every day appear arms out.
it burn me,
Appear money them a thief.
it burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't for me again, you can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't for me again. Can't for me again. You can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't for me again.
For me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The 100 the promises, none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth, they rap and they down in a whatever. Member bold money and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell, go mash up people start and thief when them sell.
It burn me,
Or they treat the market man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat the cat man.
it burn me,
Or they treat the peanut man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat the dirt man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat the son man.
it burn me,
Or them a treat policeman.
it burn me,
How them a treat soldier man.
it burn me.
How them a treat everyone.
Can't for me again, you can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't for me again.
Stevie dim day. We in Global TV says certain kind of friend we no keep. And some informer friend we love like. We in Global, bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global, we not promote them, we not support them. Look at them on the cheek, come here represent for. We in Global TV, check it.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome. I hope you are hearing me fine. Please give me a sound check. Let me know that you are hearing me okay. How is everybody doing this morning? To my community of parity and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, viewers, subscribers, commenters, and trolls. Good morning, world. Good morning, globalists. Wherever you are, good morning and welcome to your At a Glance program. We are going to continue focusing on the ills of our what they call Philly Jamaica. That's up in the air, though. The Philly Jamaica is really up in the air. But I want to make something clear. I have made it clear on here before. Both sides of my family, paternal and maternal, have mixed political allegiance to both the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party. I myself voted twice in Jamaica, voted for the Jamaica Labour Party in one local election and in one general election. I was never a political diehard to the Jamaica Labour Party. But during the Andrew Holness first year and his green bonds, if you can remember, that's when I stepped off the Jamaica Labour Party chain. And I said, under no circumstances, I could support Andrew Holness or this party again. And therefore will never get back on that board or any political partisan board in Jamaica. No. Why? Because for me, with my observance and of global politics and knowledge of politics outside of Jamaica, it really wouldn't do my country any good for me to pledge my loyalty to a political party or a political organization, or plural, that has not shown me or the country that the people are at the forefront of what they do. Mm-mm. No, 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 not at all. All right, we're going to chat along to these little penny frosties this morning. Nationwide keep propping up Andrew. I mean, Cliff Hughes, the dead by now. The dead by now would see that. Cousin Wagwan, the dead would see by now that Andrew Holness is not electable for the foregoing Cliff Hughes, nor is the Jamaica Labour Party, based on the destructive governance of Andrew Holness and his family of looters and shooters in the public purse, protected by a group of conspirators. I mean, Labour Party, we can't continue like this. We cannot continue like this where the Labour Party think that everything is about war. If we don't go over Twitter, go listen to them. Hey, we put on the nice thing now, a war, anything for defend we leader. People, if we don't go over TikTok, go here, Labour, I don't think they done and the rest of airwave them. If you don't want to know about Dunce Labour, right, go over TikTok. That's where they reside with the riot But it just shows the whole country what it's all about. Because when you can stand behind a leader that has no credibility, a leader that has lost all credibility, and all on will run around and do everything for sure, we say the leader is not tainted. We see a constant belligerent attack on the Integrity Commission. It was our Prime Minister last Tuesday. Raymond, trust me, TikTok are over Sin City, but sometimes it's good to go over there, go listen how the Labour write them over there and melt down, because they all knew that they cannot defend Andrew Holness and what came out in the Integrity Commission report. And believe you me, true rain not fall when they then just take up dry mud and fling. And not nasty. And the more them sister the mud nasty is the more them go on a belligerent rant. But I hope the country is watching them. But the Prime Minister last Tuesday, and it's not the first, we've seen Everard Warmington attack the Integrity Commission before in the Oversight Committee. We saw the Prime Minister last Tuesday standing at the dispatch box attacking the Integrity Commission. The attack continued through yesterday again by Marlene Ballahu Fort, Pernell Charles, Delroy Chuck, Edmund Bartlett, and a lot of them. Further to that, Clovis Nelson and Vegas them went to the entire Vegas. Now they don't tell me say never did. Clovis and Vegas they walk together. Went to the Integrity Commission office to stage an intimidating demonstration. So the Integrity Commission must be intimidated into verifying the Prime Minister, because you heard it yesterday on the Oversight Committee, where Pernell Charles said the Integrity Commission ought to be mandated, meaning be forced by law to verify the Prime Minister declarant. Even when the Prime Minister will submit, can't tell we where must submit, where you get them from and where it come from, when come by it. Even when the Prime Minister walk and hide things and say never know about it and we find out about it, the Integrity Commission is on a witch hunt, as Counter Pernell Charles. We've seen in the past where members of the Integrity Commission was shot and robbed. I think it was shortly after the 2022 Andrew Holness report, wasn't it? But it's a plethora of intimidation from this government. So this government is saying, but then again, it's nothing strange. This government has always, or this Jamaica Labour Party has always used violence and intimidating tactics to achieve its political aims. Is it not? Where them can use money to buy them way. When them can't use money to buy them way, them use violence and intimidation as a method of getting what they want. That's what we have been seeing since the Integrity Commission report is being sent to Parliament. Even before it was tabled, it was a relentless attack by Cliff Hughes and Adam Stewart and the JLP vloggers and members of Parliament. It was a relentless attack from CVM, Adam Stewart, Cliff Hughes, and all sorts of leaks and narrative that was put out there by Andrew Holness and Juliet Holness and Colleen Lull, Tam Tavares Simpson, and what the Batman name down on Mobile, the Hero Clark. Because they were the only person who have access to the report. A lot of the narrative put out by Cliff and George Davis mirrored what was in the report, i.e., the 4 undeclared accounts, the International Auditing Agency. All of this information was leaked by the Andrew Holness regime with a view to cast a shadow over the work of the Integrity Commission. Ever since the report been tabled, it's a barrage of attack on the credibility of the Integrity Commission, and it continues. It continues. So how then our government can run around the world and attack to the masters them about democracy and all of them effortry, but democracy is being stifled and subverted in Jamaica because if democracy doesn't suit your prime minister, if free speech doesn't suit your prime minister, we're not going to really enjoy it. Because we know the prime minister have some belligerent behavior when we all draw away from under bed for free speech. No different to what they're doing to the Integrity Commission at the moment. Sorry. It's all for this government about intimidation. But your prime minister still failed, even though the Jamaica Labour Party is marching around trying to defend the indefensible, the criminal prime minister. That same criminal prime minister even refuses to sign on the dotted line of these principles. Your prime minister don't want to be open, because if your prime minister was open, then the investigators at the IC would have gotten the chance to complete their investigation, would they not? If there was accountability by your prime minister, businesses would have been run separately to the prime minister, because your prime minister's sole job when you elect a leader, their sole job is to run the country, to look after the affairs of the people. But your prime minister is running a lot of companies. Your prime minister has no honesty. Because your prime minister knew he was under investigation for illicit enrichment, and he regularly lied to the nation that I have no clue. I've looked far and I've looked wide. Even though I have not looked close to myself, I have looked far and wide, and I couldn't spot a thing. Your prime minister could not have provided leadership in your country. Jesus Christ, what a man busy. Your prime minister who's running 3 companies, 28 bank accounts, studying for a doctor in law and policy. I mean, when your prime minister get time to lead your country, we won't even talk about the integrity because the prime minister can't meet that bar, not objective. Him can't meet them bar there, so we're not gonna go at them something there. Him can't meet them bar there. Them bar there way too up there, so if it's on a low down level prime minister, no sir. But asking yourself the question, your prime minister is running his businesses, multiple of them. Your prime minister studied a doctor in law and a doctorate in law and policy. What time can you explain to me, or where would your prime minister get the time to look after the affairs of your country? Bear in mind, your prime minister has had more portfolio than foot of a Nancy. And Nancy don't have the amount of foot compared to your prime minister portfolio. But your prime minister claimed to say he managed to do all of them something there. What suffer prime minister? Because we know your business suffer. We know your education suffer because you say I get new crustal rolls. Given the state of the country, prime minister, then obviously the country have suffered. Wouldn't you agree? The country would have to suffer if you're looking about your education, if you're looking about your businesses. What time do you think you would really have for we, prime minister? I mean, how important are we? How important are we where you, prime minister, would have to stop, look after your education and your business, and come tend to we down here, so? I mean, who suffered prime minister? Because me never know no other prime minister was so busy. You're running so much departments at home as the prime minister. You're studying and you're running business. Make it make sense, Jamaica Labour Party. Make it make sense. Where is Andrew's interest? Where is the prime minister's interest? Because everything was about the prime minister's personal gains. We don't see the country gain much out of it. But the prime minister down New York and him talk a whole heap of bullshit. I mean, you could use Kamina Johnson face to wipe Andrew Holness's ass the way he's just diarrhea in New York. Let's listen to a bit of the prime minister's diarrhea at the General Assembly.
Excellencies and distinguished delegates, representatives of the United Nations, civil society, youth, major groups, and other stakeholders. It is a distinct honor to join you this morning in building momentum towards the summit of the future and to formally commence the discussions on future generations. Allow me to congratulate and commend all of you for your tremendous efforts over these past few years to ensure the success of the summit. Jamaica is proud to have co-facilitated the intergovernmental process for the Declaration on Future Generations, and I take this opportunity to express my appreciation to our co-facilitator, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, for their excellent collaboration during this challenging process. I would also like to thank the Secretary General and his team for the support provided to our respective teams during the negotiations and consultations. The inclusivity of the Summit of the Future and its preceding action days, as well as the preparatory processes leading up to this very critical moment, is truly symbolic of the approach that is required to preserve a robust and effective multilateral system with the United Nations at its core. It is clear that member states and the UN system cannot chart this path alone. We must leverage the knowledge, expertise, and vigor of civil society, youth, academia, the private sector, and other stakeholders to deliver a better future for this planet and for all its people. The Declaration on Future Generations has certainly benefited from this coming together of great minds and reflects the diverse perspectives and challenges across the world that must be taken into account as we lay the foundation for the next century and beyond. Indeed, with the adoption of this declaration at the summit tomorrow, we will be able to celebrate a universal realization that even as we address the challenges of today, we have an obligation to protect the interests of future generations and ensure that they will inherit a planet in which they can thrive. We must now translate that enthusiasm into action by giving life to the declaration. We are grateful that during the consultations, all stakeholders recognized that it was important to not only manifest lofty intent to take account of the needs of future generations, but to agree to fundamental guiding principles, make far-reaching commitments, and prescribe concrete actions to propel us to achieve this end. Having completed the negotiations, it is now our responsibility to ensure effective implementation of the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations. For governments like mine, this effort will require a whole of society collaboration as we seek to embed futures thinking in all our decision-making processes across national and local government. The role of civil society, academia, and the private sector in this endeavor will be critical in developing solutions, as well as building and maintaining momentum towards implementation. In Jamaica, my government has already begun to invest in anticipatory planning and future-proofing, recognizing first and foremost that a solid macroeconomic foundation is the most basic requirement. We have lowered our debt to GDP ratio, increased our foreign exchange reserves, reduced our unemployment rate, and achieved single-digit inflation, as well as financial sector stability. This has allowed us to increase investment in sustainable and smart infrastructure, building for the future while taking account of changing demographic trends. We are, however, well aware of the capacity limitations of developing states to deal with the multidimensional challenges we currently face. Climate change, debt sustainability, economic stability, access to financing for development, global shocks, among others. Technology and knowledge transfer must therefore be facilitated, including through mutually agreed arrangements. The international financial institutions must be reformed to provide the necessary access to financing as the means of implementation. The multilateral system, with the UN at its core, must be equipped to provide opportunities for developing and sharing best practices. In this regard, a follow-up mechanism will also be important, so that implementation of commitments we make over the next few days can be appropriately measured and monitored. Excellencies, with the adoption of the Pact and its annexes, we have charted a path and made the first bold steps. Let us now move forward with hope and determination to ensure that our...
Oh dear, he said all those things. But before I showed you another interview he did in New York, I want to learn to listen to Andrew Holness, you know. I tell you all the while, it's irritating to listen to Andrew Holness, but you have to listen to him live. Don't make people come tell him they lie with Andrew Holness. Don't remember them on yourself. But I want to show you something before he went off to New York. How will I put it again? Did I not put it somewhere here? Come on, what is going on this morning? Sorry, my peeps. Sorry. Why is this thing not? Don't tell me I never put it on a slide. Hold on, I want to show you. Can Andrew Holness say Jamaica now go reach its 2030? Can you believe I never put it on? Sorry, my peeps. Jamaica is not going to reach its 2030 target. Andrew Holness said, but him can go UN attack all of those lovely things. I don't know why my system is playing up. No, I never seem to. But he said it. But I want to play for you an interview with Andrew have. I want to listen to Andrew lies. Sorry, people, my system is freezing. Give me a little time there. Bear with. My system froze at the moment. If it knocks out, I will be back soon. But just bear with. But this is to show you how it is with Andrew and these international people. Where as long as Andrew will play them game, Andrew all right with them. Because there's a thing called diplomatic law, you see, where they don't get in at each other domestic issue. Save for that, the American hegemon system. And I mean, I move them something here, and there's something just freeze and a flick, how it one flick. The American hegemonic system, if you step out of line, sorry people, everything freeze by me back here. If you step out of line, then the American system will take you down as a third world leader. This thing just a go while around our back here, coming out, touch a thing. I don't know what is going on.
To one of the leading voices in the global conversation on sustainable development and economic resilience, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honourable Andrew Holness. And you've had a long history now of really struggling to put things back in order in your country. You've succeeded in reducing your debt ratios by half. Unemployment has come down to fairly low levels. Inflation has come down. So lots of successes. Tell us a little bit about how you were able to do that.
Well, firstly, it's the building of social and political consensus. That's absolutely important. And that starts with the country taking responsibility. We have to put our house in order. And then we have to strike global and international partnerships. We struck a very good partnership with the IMF and the World Bank, and we focused on a development program which was sponsored by both the IMF and the World Bank. And then the government committed to a fiscal path and stuck to it. Clearly, the COVID pandemic would have set us back. But within the fiscal program, we built in resilience. So we ensured that our economy was able to respond to shocks. And we were able to respond to the COVID pandemic and the subsequent shocks that followed, the supply side shocks, supply chain shocks, the energy shocks. And then recently, we had another shock, which was Hurricane Beryl. And we were able to respond to that. So I think that Jamaica could be cited as an example of a country that maintained fiscal discipline, built in buffers, and took the necessary steps to build resilience in its economy to be able to respond to unexpected crises and shocks. But that's just the first stage of the economy, of our economic development. The second stage.
When the bright people out there, want to know what fiscal discipline mean? Can somebody tell me what I mean, please?
Now is, how do we get the economy to grow rapidly, to deliver on the prosperity promise to our people? And that's the challenge. And that is where we tie in all of the SDG goals. How do we get our economy to be able to deliver on the SDG goals? And a key part of that is growth, and I believe that the multilateral financial system has a role to play in taking...
Do you see the hypocrisy of mainstream media? Andrew down New York in the swelter of his credibility and integrity at home, and you don't hear one of the mainstream media abroad will sit down and talk with Andrew, talk about the racketeering what Andrew keep up in our government.
A very forward-leaning posture in ensuring that the global financial architecture is supportive of countries like Jamaica that have made the sacrifice, that are putting in the effort to ensure that that sacrifice and effort results in growth.
We're here, the UN Secretary General has called for an SDG stimulus plan. You yourself are a co-chair of the SDG stimulus leadership group that the SG has appointed. Everybody is saying we need more fiscal space in order to be able to implement an SDG stimulus, yet you've also talked about the need for fiscal resilience in your own program. How do you square those? What advice do you have for other countries that are now wrestling with this tension between, on the one hand, trying to drive their programs towards achievement of the SDGs, and on the other hand, being very concerned that they not go out of the boundaries of prudent fiscal policies?
Well, just using the Jamaica experience, capacity building is very important, particularly in the management of the economy. And secondly, leveraging the private sector. I don't believe enough is done in bringing in private sector resources in helping countries to achieve their SDG goals. Again, I believe that the multilaterals have a role to play in how we can leverage the private sector.
Me no remember in another interview, him tell them say him now go reach him sustainable development goals for 2030. But it's all nice and shiny.
Resources, particularly by de-risking some private sector investments and by helping to direct and create the incentives for pointing private sector investments in areas of investment that align with global public goods. My advice, well, from my experience, is that good fiscal management should not be seen as a trade-off for achieving the SDGs. I think you need to have good fiscal management in order to be able to sustainably achieve the SDGs.
And have you seen private investment?
But then, Prime Minister, if so much is missing out of our budget, if so much is unaccounted for in our budget, one thief over 8 years, Prime Minister, is enough to run the country for 1 whole year. Make it make sense.
Starting to return to Jamaica? What kind of de-risking programs that you mentioned?
Well, generally, I would say that the global headwinds have created some uncertainties, difficulties for most countries. The high interest rate environment that is existing globally. So investors are generally trying to find safe havens. So in the short term, you may see some softening of interest in some developing countries. But I think that should return quite quickly as the developed countries signal that they're going to reduce their interest rates. So my own view is that in terms of de-risking, the multilaterals could play an important role in helping countries with guarantees, in helping countries with bringing together the necessary investment expertise. I think those two things would reduce the risk of investments coming into developed countries.
Now, you talked about capacity building. Is that capacity building in the public sector or in the private sector?
It's both. When we start to talk about investments for adaptation and taking on very complex capital investment projects, many developed countries don't have the technical expertise to do it either in the public sector or in the private sector. And so support in this regard would be very useful.
We're here, New York, high-level week, Summit of the Future. We just have a pact for the future. What's your main message in all of these?
No, I hear the Holness message, because the Holness not have nothing to tell we other than teach we how to thief. And him not able to teach we how to thief, him just a teach him family and friend them how to thief. Here what Cliff Hughes say again, PNP hasn't proven itself as an alternative to the JLP. I mean, Cliff Hughes, can you, boy, I don't even know if to tell this bullfrog looking man, so because Cliff Hughes is trying hard. Cliff Hughes, time up. Time up, Cliff Hughes. Nobody's not really listening to you anymore. Everybody knows say you're a liar. Everybody knows say you're JLP whatsoever. I mean, Can you not give some fair reporting as mainstream media, Cliff? It can't be everything about the JLP and Andrew Holness. So what is it about you and Andrew Holness? I mean, Andrew Holness visit your party, but it not means said you fit throw the country under the bus for Andrew Holness. That's not right. Okay. Government MP, we know the usual attack. Yesterday, them vote against the motion were tabled by Julian Robinson. We know say it's a constant attack on the Integrity Commission. This is a lollipop face one him. Him try the opposition them about rebuke them. I hate to use the word, yeah. About the motion them bring forward. Everybody fi collude and cover up for Andrew. If they not collude and cover up for Andrew, then you are corrupt, you are PNP, and you ought say get Andrew. But why no can tell Andrew say, stop the thieving, stop the lying, stop the scamming, and then there would be no problem. We won't nothing to talk about, you know. If the Prime Minister and the party members weren't thieves and criminals, I mean, let's face it, we wouldn't have nothing to talk about. If the Prime Minister over 3 years could have verified stolen goods then, we would not talk about the Prime Minister long back this morning. So under the Labour right to draw Andrew aside and say, man, it no look good. You can't keep putting away in that position. Even though nationwide is a confusing place. Even though they might tell us that them blew that poll, the major concern for people was crime, corruption, and cost of living. Now nationwide, if crime, corruption, and cost of living are the 3 top concerns for the people, why then don't you think that the only other political party in Jamaica would be an alternative for the people? Is Nationwide then saying that despite the corruption, despite the crime, despite the cost of living, we will go on with this criminal? Is this what is that what Nationwide is saying to us? That the nation is saying it's okay to chat along with the criminal, even though under them crime has escalated, corruption has gotten out of control, cost of living is astronomically across the roof. And Cliff is saying the nation is saying the other party is not a choice to what we have at the moment. God help us, Cliff. God help us if that you wish for it. Now, Mark Golden, you are being called on to intervene to quell the deadly turf war in your constituency. I'm of the view, Mr. Golden, that anything political leaders can do to quell turf war or turf war that may be politically aligned, Mr. Golden, one should make sure they take all the necessary steps to do. We don't want Jamaica get worse, spiral out of control at the moment. I mean, it's out of control like, wow. Gangs importing gunmen in bloody St. Andrew, turf war. So this have the potential if them are importing gunmen. So it's incumbent upon the government, upon the opposition, upon the community, upon law enforcement to bring back calm to the community. Business community call for Holness probe to be completed without undue influence. It look like the business community, they might take time, spin them roll, Andrew Holness. The criminally aligned PSOJ, leave the business community aside now, because the business community is much broader than the PSOJ. Even though at the PSOJ them grab way up and drape way up. But Metro Siaga came out with it, and I want to ask Metro Siaga, those in the PSOJ, Metro, that you allude to are involved in active crimes, Metro, have you reported it to the police? Me know it's a little it, but about two of the private sector people them are one talk. But on such a big issue, the private sector is rather, I think, a bit too silent. Because I remember the ultimatum they gave to Mark Golden. I remember the ultimatum they gave to Mark Golden. And one can say, even though everybody ran with the misogynist argument then, but it was quite a light issue compared to what it is now. Because we were talking about freedom of speech and a popular song that was quoted. PSLJ saw the need to came out then, even after Isaac Buchanan apologized and gave the People's National Party an ultimatum. Mark Golden had to remove Isaac from the Human Rights Commission. 28 bank accounts, racketeering, conspiracy, embezzlement, tax evasion, scamming, fraud. But they're all silent. None of them now come out and call, say, Andrew must step down forthwith. It's not good for the credibility of the country. But where you see a business community doesn't seem to be 100% behind the government, because they're saying the probe ought to be completed without undue influence. Mean that the political hierarchies like Andrew must not influence or intimidate the commission or FID or TAJ in exercising their duties. When you look at the country, nothing that is going on at the moment looks good for the country, either domestically or nationally. Nationally at home, the government has no credibility, no believability, other than the partisan tribalry. No one in Jamaica would believe anything this prime minister utters. This prime minister not only have a track record of stealing, but also a track record of lying. It's not good for Jamaica and the international scene, given where we are on the corruption perception index. With a prime minister involved in such high level corruption, where his mother, his sister, his father, his two sons, his wife, all involved in the racketeering and scamming of this government. The country cannot continue like this. The country cannot continue without any respect for the rule of law. The prime minister cannot be above the law. Politicians are not above the law. And until we stand up as a people and make sure, say, the way the law applies to us, it must apply to them the same. They are going to continue to treat the people with disdain and disfavor because they don't think we deserve anything. Because if the prime minister thinks the governor general have no say in nothing that's going on, Colleen James, the governor general post is ceremonial. He has no political power. The governor general political power has to be invited by Andrew. If the governor general is to dissolve parliament, Andrew will have to invite him to dissolve parliament. If the governor general ought to appoint XYZ, then Andrew must refer, i.e., to the governor general to be appointed. The governor general's role is signing a few things, observing the signing of certain state documents, cutting ribbons, and laughing like a fucking ass. That's all. That's their job, literally. Cut ribbons, shake hands, overseeing the signing of a few documents. It's literally not more than that. It's purely ceremonial, where we just pay for the bullshit of pageantry. That's all it is. The governor general and the palace, it's purely pageantry. They don't have political powers. The power is held by the parliament. So the governor general can really do nothing, because until Andrew ready to dissolve parliament, the governor general can dissolve parliament. And this is why, even yesterday, Marlene Malahou, what's it or rather you call it, was in parliament still justifying that if we have executive president likely to turn into dictators, please, ma'am, look at what we have now. We have a constitutional monarchy at the moment, and look at what it is. Are we not under full-fledged dictatorship since 2020? Marlene Malahou fought. That's the August say. If we have an executive president, we risk of our president turning into a dictator. But the prime minister have already turned into a dictator, so I don't know how you get this, so, and you not see what you there already, lady. This is the blindness of our politics. And the people are wrapped up in the blindness. That blindness of the people allow government to continue to thread up on the people's rights. It allows government to come and go and has done nothing for the people. I mean, this a phone hit a go off, so I won't send so much message. Nothing for the people. But I still remain until the people of Jamaica wake up to the politics that was created for us and create a politics that is beneficial to us. Year ago, year come, we're going in the same situation. Yeah. Corruption is too entrenched in our politics, in our justice system, and in our law enforcement. And by extension, the people are being normalized to corruption. You know, see the difficulty in fighting corruption in Jamaica? Because when you look at the behavior of Nationwide, Adam Stewart, Vegas, Chopper John, Clovis Nelson, and all of those people are having mental breakdowns. It shows you how corruption is being normalized amongst us in our political allegiance. The normalization of corruption by political allegiance. Because when the IC charge Dean Vaz a fine for late submission, and Dwayne Vaz rather, didn't pay the fine, Dwayne Vaz get referred to for prosecution. The IC wasn't JLP then. The IC wasn't corrupt then. It was just another Jamaican. It was just another politician. But Andrew is above the law. Andrew Holness is above reproach. I mean, the thieviness man in our society. No, let me check that phone now. Long and Jesus. At one message, me saw who dead. Andrew Holness is above reproach. Nobody approach Andrew and him dealings to the Jamaica Labour Party. Are you going to let one man destroy the entire party? I mean, we know that a lot of those who were elected in 2020 will not ever be elected again. But can you sit down comfortable and say that this cloud around the Prime Minister is not creating damage to the party? Because as I say it, and I'm not afraid to say it, I don't want to see a wipeout of the Jamaica Labour Party at the next general election, one. And two, I do not ever want to see an unbalanced parliament in Jamaica the way it is at the moment. Why? It is very, very dangerous for democracy. And I think Andrew Holness shows us how much of a slippery slope or democracy can be when we end up with what is a tyrannical leader. This is why the Jamaica Labour Party needs to look at this issue carefully and to decide whether they are sacrificing the party's credibility for the Prime Minister's credibility. Because the Prime Minister enriched himself and gone already, you know. Only upon when the party have ambitions to lead, have ambitions to become the next leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. Staying silent at the moment, you are allowing Andrew Holness to jeopardize that. Yes, you may be the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, but in opposition for quite some long time. I never want to see the type of parliament we have again. There must be a balance for legislative competency of our parliament. There ought to be a balance. The structure of our parliament at the moment is the reason why Andrew Holness gets to take so much unconstitutional legislation through our parliament, albeit some of them get struck out. A landslide is never a good thing for democracy. A prime minister, a government must be always held properly to account by the opposition party. And when you have the structure that we have now, it allows the government to stick two fingers up at you and say, I don't care, I have the numbers to whip it through parliament. I don't want to see Mark Golden or any other leader has that power in our country. Not one. There must be consensus legislatively between the government and the opposition, because in a legislative framework, your opposition is there to make sure that the government doesn't breach your fundamental rights when legislating. I'm not sure it's so with Andrew Holness, because Andrew Holness will take a legislation in Parliament in the dead of night and pass it before daylight and doesn't give two thoughts to whether your rights are protected or not. Enough of the thief them now. Mother, tell your son say enough. Tell your son say enough. Is it not shameful to see how you, the big old tough woman, I get drowned in a public over stolen goods? When the bleachers continue bleach. See them make up all kind of fakes and things, so continue bleach. Don't have a problem with the bleach it. Bleach if you don't want. Yeah. See, Andrew Holness and the American puppet meet at the UN yesterday, but barbecue, on barbecue, and we must always celebrate the illustrious Zara Burton. Because when you read a lot of Zara Burton's article, and when you read the Integrity Commission report, hey, Zara Burton has been digging long time, you know. And I know one of them can't come to Zara and say, Zara, lie, yeah, tell. We love Zara Burton. We support the work of Zara Burton. Yes, Zara Burton's work is to be hailed and supported. Because if you don't think the Prime Minister is not trouble yet, make them go start investigate from 2008. Prime Minister. But you see, the IC, when you never do no work properly neither. When you just take Andrew words for it in some of these declarations. That's why him get off of the hook in some ways. Because it look like for a long time when you just take Andrew lying word for what line Andrew said. But never mind. The criminals got to go. Yeah, the criminals, see them there. Andrew, him mother and him sister. Andrew mother and one of him father and him two son. We don't need to go. We not thief enough family. Shameful civil servant. And that you come down to shameful farmer. And that you not come down to a walk with long bag. We don't know shame. Look how you grow count ton grey. And I want to know great people know so not thief. We don't name a call and long bag in a crowd. We don't know shame. Me say if you don't shame. But you, the axe are going to fall upon you, sister, because you wrap up big time in the thief. As I continue to say, congratulations to Mystic Mighty, because he's the only one of Andrew family where we know of right now. We're not in Pandeloot. Everybody else in Pandeloot. Mama, Papa, Pikini, sister, wife. I just saw Andrew and his friend them a walk and thief. But God go with you, Andrew Holness. God go with you. God go with you. You bunch of Bataclans and wrong'uns. You see, you can't reach like P. Diddy, you know. Andrew Holness. You see where P. Diddy is tonight? I wonder how long will it take before Oprah, Tyler Perry, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and the whole on P. Diddy. You know how long me have you up? You know how long me have you up, P. Diddy, for you kill my artist Tupac. You know how long me want to figure out prison, little boy. You can certainly run, P. Diddy, but you cannot hide. And I want to say to that criminal Oprah Winfrey this morning, you can run, Oprah Winfrey, but you certainly cannot hide. This is where Global TV ends it this morning. Thank you very much for being here. And make sure you like, share, and tell the world, we're not going to let Andrew Holness and his Bataclans get away with the crime committed against the people of Jamaica. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later tonight.
We don't feel comfortable sitting in Parliament with a Minister of Government who has openly accepted responsibility, who expresses no regret for the act, where a Commission of Parliament has confirmed that the act is corrupt and has referred it for prosecution, and that minister shows no sign of wanting to resign, or the Prime Minister showing no signs of moving to dismiss the minister.
With all the sympathy that one can have for support, this is embarrassing, not only to the government as a party, not only the PNP, but to the government, to Jamaica, to all of us. Our heads bow this morning with this sort of reaction to it.
So we have to take firm actions in this regard. It is a dark day for Jamaica, where the Prime Minister is unwilling or afraid to act against a minister.
Roger Wagwan, you come on me done later.
Has total confidence, and in which the institutions of the society are all agreed that this person does not enjoy their trust or faith and has breached the confidence that the people have placed in them. I believe that this has the potential, if it continues, to bring down the entire government.